Welcome, everyone, to the Lifting the Veil podcast with your host, myself, Adrienne Lopez, the Integrative Healing Coach. Sorry about that. I got ahead of myself. I'm super excited today because I'm having my first guest speaker this week. I have been able to connect with a friend and fellow coach and healer, Sarah Adams. And in just a minute, I'm going to have her on to share a conversation in regards to her work and more specifically on the topic of the activation through romantic connection. And she's going to be sharing her experience in her work with that and how it's been showing up. But I just wanted to start first with giving a little bit of background on her so you can be familiar with her work and what she's been up to. So she is a musician and a healer and an ascension guide here locally where I am in Portland, Oregon. Her awakening began in 1983 with a complete dismantling of her ego consciousness and has continued to bring her into ever more expanded realms. She is an emissary of Divine Mother through both her music and her healing, and loves to be a touchstone and a guide through the wild, woolly wilderness of multidimensional embodiment. So in just a moment, I'm going to bring her on and have her share her journey and her wisdom regarding the ascension process. But before I do, I just wanted to make a couple announcements. So I missed you last week. I was in the depths of a coaching container, transformational coaching container, which I've had the joy and pleasure and honor of participating in. And it's just always incredible to see what transformation looks like and what's possible when people step into the fullness of who they are. And it's one really effective tool that I've found, this coaching container, to support people in stepping into an expanded awareness. Of course, there's many levels in which this occurs. This is a great step in getting to know the truth about who you are. So if you'd like to find out more about the coaching program, I am here to share with you. I'm going to put, as always, my contact information in the description of this podcast if you want to find out more information about anything I'm talking about, or my guest, Sarah Adams, today. I will also include her contact information if anything she shares with you resonates and you'd like to find out more about her work and what she offers. With that being said, for those of you that are new and that have never met me before, I am an integrative healing coach, and that's simply a fancy way of saying that I support individuals in creating a harmonious connection between their body, their mind, and their soul. And so when we are in a harmonious connection internally, we can project that out and be the light and the inspiration for others. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and bring in Sarah so you can listen into an amazing conversation that we just had this morning. So I'll see you in there. So here we are with Sarah Adams, one of my first guests on this podcast. So I'm super excited to have her here, as I mentioned in the introduction. And so today she's here to share with us her journey as an ascension worker. I don't know if that's the right term that you like.
Yeah, you could say ascension guide,
Oh,
transformational life coach, spiritual midwife, any of those work.
Awesome. And specifically around the topic of some areas that she's been working on through her PhD, right?
What do we say? Powerful, heartfelt discipline.
Yes.
Heart-wrenching discipline. PhD.
Yes. And you have framed this as a romantic love activation
as a catalyst for spiritual evolution. And when I heard that topic, I was like, oh, wow, sign me up, Sarah Adams. I want to hear more about this because it's very related to much of the work that people are doing right now that are committed to raising the consciousness on the planet. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's start a little bit with your history and your background and how did you land into the work that you're doing now today?
Oh my, okay, big question. I just, try to keep it down, man, because I could go on for 10 years into that portal. But basically in 1983, my entire topside world that I was experiencing, with my five senses, was literally just disintegrated in a period of 3 seconds when I had my first massive panic attack. And some panic attack syndromes, occur and they don't totally dismantle the life. But this panic attack syndrome was here to completely do a watershed, destruction of my entire ego identity. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. I became housebound. I could not leave my house.
Wow.
I had so much fear. It was like storms of poisonous insects were eating me alive every second I was awake. So this was really the activation of all my core fear. Because I'm a veil lifter for planet Earth, which means I came here as a planetary priestess to accompany the Earth and to move her out of fear-based reality into her love-based identity. And so the amount of collective trauma that was awakened on October 26, 1983 at 3:20 in the Cooperage eating pizza at UCLA was the collective mass of all transformed fear, of all fear unfelt by as much as I could possibly take of the collective global brain of all humanity.
Wow. So eventually you were able to reground and...
I'm still not grounded, man. Well, I'll be grounded when the Earth ascends fully.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Reground at a certain functional level.
Yeah.
Which I still hold very loosely, the term functional, because I've been fielding so much multidimensional energy all these years. I keep thinking I'm going to feel more normal, but I really just keep going further out. But it's all about bringing the further out all the way in.
Yeah, because there's no separation really, right?
Yeah, exactly. The earth and the heaven are one. It's just that we're here in a fallen matrix where separation consciousness is preventing the DNA from the pair bonding. And that's what romantic love does. It invokes the proper pair bond, which instructs our DNA how to come back into its pair bonding.
I love this. Can you say more about what you mean by pair bonding?
Yeah. So in the third dimensional level, we know it as protein synthesis. When I say the word aeonic, that means the Christed pair bond of the ascended self, right? So it's the proper pair bond, because the negative aliens have totally screwed with the DNA. It's in trauma bonds, it's in reversal bonds, but the aeonic pair bond,
at a literal DNA level.
Woo! The aeonic pair bond is the Christed pair bond, which allows for the embodiment of light in our consciousness, right? Yeah. That's kind of a long answer, but when you have two amino acids that create the proper protein synthesis, this codes for the architecture that enables light body to have a house in our form. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
So at the double helix level, we are in a frequency of fear-based reality. There is a ceiling right here. And basically you're living in survival and fear and trauma, right, at that level. And so you have enough protein synthesis working or you wouldn't be alive.
Yeah, right? I was going to say.
So we've got a lot that's working. But if you look at dimension 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 15, the DNA is totally off its pair bond. There's no pair bond there. That's why people aren't awake to their multidimensionality, because the DNA doesn't house it.
So I guess my next question is, how does the physical romantic expression or relationship of love that you've been focusing on around like the twin flame or your divine complement, how does that play a specific role in this DNA, what did you call it?
Pair bonding.
Pair bonding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, Adrienne, that's a great question.
Well, thank you.
It's a big question.
Yes.
So if we think about the part of our DNA that's currently expressing, that's currently doing us any good.
Yeah.
This is the part that's in consciousness.
Designed.
Yeah, that's working the way it was designed. And I like to call that the motherboard, because it's kind of like that's what is in our consciousness. Now we have this huge bunch of DNA that, scientists have called in the past junk DNA.
Yes, I've heard of that.
But they're starting to call it potential DNA, which I think is a much more accurate word.
Yes.
So think, let's take this archetype, this story. Yeah. So the higher self is watching the self that's in time and space, trapped in a frequency fence of darkness, fear, survival, trauma-based, egoic behavior. And that higher self is like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? How can I get that person out of that reality? I've got to bring these expansive codes to her and liberate her from this fear-based reality. And so what does it do? I mean, there are some ayahuasca journeys that will blow out the defenses and give the DNA that glimpse. There are some LSD journeys that will do it. Mushrooms, different psychoactive ecstasies, different drugs will cause the invocation of the pair bonding. But my life is so freaking wacky. I've never wanted to put any kind of drug. Sudafed used to make me see through walls. Well, so Sarah, I'm like, don't even give me LSD or ayahuasca. We're not going to scrape me off the ceiling.
I just want to stop you real quick there, because I think, I've noticed, and you probably have noticed, like this huge expansion of popularity around plant medicine and ayahuasca. But it seems that, not that, it is plant medicine and it is intelligence of the planet, but a lot of it's ungrounded and unintegrated. And so exactly, I know people that have done ayahuasca journey after ayahuasca journey, and they're still struggling because if you don't clear the trauma bonds and anchor it, then all you do is repeat,
Yes. So here's where we're going to talk about how amazing romantic love activation is, because what it does now, understanding that when this DNA was thrown out of consciousness, the last time we had our 5D organic matrix of our sapphire body was on planet Tara. Now that's 5D Earth pre-fall. So this is when lover and beloved were dancing in total communion, aeonic pair bonding of organic 5D, which is just bliss. It's pure bliss. Is
Tara referred to as a higher octave of Venus or
Earth?
Oh, okay.
It's a higher octave of Earth.
Got it.
Right. And so there's Earth, Tara, and Gaia, right? And it's a triple fold goddess: Earth, 3D, Tara, 5D, 7D Gaia, right?
Awesome. Okay.
So our divine blueprint of DNA was seated on Gaia. So that's what we're going back to. But Tara was a powerful 5D planet, and she was blown up and destroyed through damaging the sound field. So sound and light, when they commune as one, created this 5D organic matrix of lover and beloved. So we can even think of light and sound, right? Light is the masculine, sound is the feminine. And we can also think of it as electromagnetic. Yeah. Electro is masculine, magnetic is feminine. So without getting too over there,
technical. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Stumbling around. We're gonna switch gears now. So here we are on fallen Earth, We don't have our Taran body. We're getting it very quickly right now. The Ascension codes are reclaiming the Taran body, and it's amazing. We've done so much work to get to this point. So here's romantic love. So your higher self says, okay, first got to understand all that DNA in its junk status or potential status has been thrown out of consciousness through cataclysm. I mean, you could think of traumas as cataclysms in the soul, right?
So it's not available, it's not accessible.
And when they get thrown out, the trauma creates a trauma bond, which is a repellence. It's a repellence between each piece of DNA that's in that shattered right windshield.
Literally.
Yes, each piece. So each piece of DNA like hates itself. It can't commune with itself. Yeah. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to. My soul was shattered into 627 pieces.
You counted them?
No, my shaman.
Oh, okay. I'm like, wow, that's.
Yeah, he death spelled me in ancient Lemuria. He knew exactly how many pieces he shattered my soul into. But that, so the shattering and the fragmentation is there in the broken windshield. Now, somehow you've got, the process is you want to mend this windshield, right? You want to mend your light body. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to lock onto those fragments and do something with them to bring them into communion so they can join the conscious self as love, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Enter the beloved. Okay, the beloved becomes a sun. All of the fragments are invoked into orbit around this sun in this incredible fantasy bond love. I mean, it's like, oh my God, I love you. I can't live without you. Because all of a sudden, all the DNA is lit up. This whole strip, this whole big conglomeration of fragments have been locked onto and lit up as if.
Is it that attraction, like that attraction to other that lights up the DNA and like passion and the love and the.
Yes, it goes into orbit. It goes into orbit around them as if they are the sun.
Got it.
That's what happens. And so you always lose that beloved because this is rigged so that you can never have the beloved because they're only serving as like a slingshot point to come back. But you get lost out there. It's hard to not get lost. My first I've done this 28 times and I got really lost in the last one 2 weeks ago. So you really get lost because all of your fragments that have never known love are like, love, oh my God, Christ, energy, Christ consciousness, so sacred marriage, home.
Yes.
A piece of home has walked into my life. Oh my God, I have to possess this piece of home. So they all organize around that sun. Now, when that sun is ripped away, which it always is, you can't have it.
Of course.
So all the broken pieces fall back, and through grieving, they shared in commonality, they shared their incredible attraction and love and fantasy bond for the sun. Mm-hmm. And now through their grief, they're sharing their common agony. So you can see how they're all coming together. And through the grief, all the self-repellence between these pieces is liquefied through the grief. And then they fuse together in the light body and join the motherboard of consciousness. And then it wash, rinse, repeat. Wait, like I'd have a 3-week break and they'd throw another one on me. I was like, are you effing kidding me? I got through 28 since 1998.
So Sarah, couldn't there be an easier way to create this integration of?
No, this is the best way. Romantic love carries the exact frequency of the correct aeonic pair bond. There's nothing like it on earth.
Got it.
I mean, it is the invocation of the greater soul.
I just want to say it like, my experience, romantic love, is that there's a lot of addiction related to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they have the fantasy bond architecture of everything you're missing inside of you. Yeah. Like my latest activator, I've been married to him 3 times on Tara. So our bodies have total sapphire coating for, the ascended body. So when he came to me in this lifetime, it was like, oh my God, we're back on Tara.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's not, I have to anchor that inside my body. And that's what you have to do. Every time you experience it out there, it's just an advertisement. It's just saying, this is who you are. Go home.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is like people that have been healing their addiction and their attachment to anything outside of themselves, because, you know, we are source, we are, you know, our own divine connection. So that's, I guess, the part that I'm tripping over a little bit, because I'm like, gosh, once you start healing your addictions, and even if you do see a person outside of you and you recognize that strong attachment, or the attraction, I should say, there's also like, oh, that's an addictive response.
Yeah, but you have to be at a certain level of soul maturity.
Yeah.
Being a veil lifter, like I take a lot of the collective tendency toward addiction of like the whole mass of humanity. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just the way it is, and that's my job.
On the other
transform that.
On the other hand, you know, I am also a veil lifter, and my job has been to neutralize addiction through.
Well, that's my eventual job. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, when pole shift was attempted on December 21st, 2012.
Yeah.
And by that time, the addictive energy is like the descending matrix that causes pole shift. So I knew, right? My higher self knew that I'm going to have to handle the sum total addictive energy of everything on the planet that I could possibly take if I'm going to hold the poles steady.
Got it.
On that night. Yeah. I didn't know that's what I was doing. It wasn't until that night when I was called to just lay in my bed. Everything you've ever done is going to now be tested. I was told, lay in your bed and you put your body right on, you know, the pole of the earth. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? You know, and then they pulsed from Nibiru to totally collapse our planet. And I was able to, because of all the addiction I'd neutralized at these highest levels, I was able to serve, you know, as a pinnacle of holding the earth steady. I didn't know that's why I was going through romantic love addiction after romantic love addiction. I didn't know, but it was like all of a sudden the muscle that I had been building through every single harnessing return of that external energy projected was the muscle that would help me stand with the earth when the negative aliens on Nibiru, the Anunnaki on Nibiru were pulsing the Jerusalem Stargate, and we were gonna collapse. There was all we could do, those of us that were holding it, was hold it steady long enough to make the negotiation, which we did. We took a vote of all humanity. Like, do you vote? Do you vote to go into Armageddon, or do you vote to brave your traumas and live as love?
Yeah.
And 85% of all sentient life said love. And that's when the radical miracles happened. And we didn't pole shift, but it was radical. The teams that had to come into play were huge.
That was 2012,
That was 2012, but I was able to hold it off long enough for the negotiation.
Yeah.
And that was one of the main purposes of this life.
Yeah. Thank you for your service, first of all, Sarah, Adam. And second of all, I think what I'm trying to get clear on is, you know, each person here that is holding space for the ascension or the conscious evolution of humanity is perhaps serving in a different aspect or
for sure. Absolutely.
And so really for me, like my journey has been to neutralize that addiction that looks like it's happening outside.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious, like this topic, like I mean, I guess it's the same function. It's just not happening out there. It's happening in here. And every light worker, every starseed has their own learning curve in regard to how to transform that energy or transmute it.
Absolutely. And it depends on your particular mission, right?
Yes.
A lot of people's soul mission is to hold brain fusion and emanate light while the warriors go into the underworld. and
Yes.
go through that's me. I'm a warrior in the underworld. I haven't been able to hold very much light at all because I'm constantly inside of this massive dismembered field, which was, enlisted by my own karma, so that I could be a match for the fallen earth and be in total solidarity with her as she rises. So if she's still in the underworld in any place, I'm in there with her.
Yeah. So that's
most of humanity is not there.
Yeah. I get
not in the underworld.
I mean, that's like your mission, your battalion. Like that's
my battalion. Yeah. We are like the fucking Navy SEALs. Sorry for swearing. But we're like the Navy SEALs, right? That are the core warriors of the original solar Christed rainbow dragons that are going straight into the core to transform everything that blocks ascension. And then but there's also this super soft feminine tar and sapphire body, which as I talk, you probably don't feel it, but it's like, that's my feminine. But I have to fight to protect her ability to even have a body. Most of the time I'm alive. Most of the time I'm here. And that's coming to a close because we have evicted the major forces of AI off of this earth. And that's when the feminine can finally just shine. She doesn't have to have a warrior right there. She can just shine and relax. And that's when the peace of the heart can emanate. Well, I haven't had that all my life. It's been guard from attack.
Yeah.
Most of my life. And then, inside the mechanics of the AI, because the dismantling of artificial intelligence has been the lifting of the veil, piece by piece by piece. And the last piece, my 28th activator totally helped with, and it was the end of Orion's AI, which it's had hold over our universal time matrix for 250,000 years. And we dismantled this thing about 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, I heard your share.
Remember how the Holy Father is returning to the earth because Orion is really connected to that Holy Father of our mother, our Father God, and Andromeda is very connected to our mother, our cosmic mother. And I come from Andromeda. That was my main assignment, and this is the cosmic mother, right? And I was sent to be a veil lifter for the return of the cosmic mother to the earth.
Well, I want to say that, there are people operating on different levels of consciousness, and, a large group of people might hear what you're saying and not understand it. And I totally get that.
Absolutely. Almost nobody understands me. I'm an outlier. That's why my music is the best way to understand. Like the song I want to play is like, it tells the whole story. In fact, we could just dissect the song and you'd have the entire romantic love catalysm.
Well, it's funny because, each spirit has a way of entering this conversation at the level in which it's available to them. And so, for example, I was doing my master's thesis on the romantic poets, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like fascinated with this energy of like this idea of this visionary quality where people were like being able to access their full potential through their visionary faculties as a poet, for example.
Beautiful, yeah.
And that was years ago. But the reason why I'm saying this is I have, like part of my journey has been able to build a bridge between like what your experiences and the work that you're doing and making it accessible to people who are like, what the hell, like, what the hell are you talking about? In a way that makes sense to them and doesn't totally trigger their ego to like, into fight or freeze because they're just not ready to hear that.
Absolutely. And like, see, so much because of, the level of work that I'm at, almost all of my friends are in the underworld with me, right? So we have all our dialogue and the people that, like my music is the bridger.
Yeah.
It's what can touch the common person.
Yeah,
It's
their heart.
certainly not my brain. It's not all these words. I've had to learn the knowledge, the arsenal of knowledge that I have in my cerebral cortex is what has kept me alive.
Yeah.
Right? Through the trauma that I've had to live through and the distance between the potential light body that I am totally in contact with and the ability to manifest about 2 freaking inches of it. The cognitive mind and all the knowledge it's kind of like having scuba gear when you're under the water. You know, I'm not at the top side. I'm not up where the oxygen is. I am down here where I have to make sense of this dismembered reality as a fully potentialized light being. So the only bridging is my mental software, right? And so my mental software is not very relatable because most people don't have to have that tank. They live at the topside world. They don't have that tank.
Yeah.
So it's very lonely. It's very isolating. It triggers people. So I basically, so much of my life is just surviving. I have to define my reality and make my way through it with all of this learning. But eventually, the main gift that I bring to the earth is as people are really waking up and their multidimensional things are coming online. I'm a multidimensional shaman. I can catch anything from anywhere, help them bring it in. I can, but until they're going through those layers, they're not, at the human level, I have been through so much fear and I've had to anchor so much mother love that I can help people through anxiety. I mean, these are the grounded places. Like I can take anyone who's very afraid and just really bring them this incredible comfort, because that's what I've had to do for my human self, right? Or take anyone who's very, very addicted and help them bring it all back into the self-empowerment so they match that frequency within themselves. And so, I mean, that's the grounded layer, right? Is to really be the cosmic mother. Mm-hmm. But because I'm still like, Raiders of the Lost Ark, moving through this dynamic liberation of my own soul.
Yes.
I talk with all my terms, they're flying through the air.
I love it because the more people hear it, the more people are exposed to it, the more normalized it becomes. So it's not so foreign when they hear the language. So every level of ascension needs to be existing clearly, else it wouldn't be existing. But I want to get back to this idea of this romantic love, because I work with a lot, and it's really interesting. And I don't know what your experience is, but I work with a lot of women and by default men who are like this relationship, like the old gender roles in which we had are falling apart. Men feel attacked a lot. I shouldn't generalize. But they don't know how to show up in the world anymore because we have like this Me Too movement and there's so much negative energy projected on.
Yes, it's really hard. It's really challenging.
And then the feminine are like, I can no longer hold this image of romantic love because it's not authentic and it's not actually giving me what I need. And I have this addiction and I'm idealizing people and that's not really them. And then a lot of women have been really over masculinized because they've had to raise children and work out in the world, and then their heart's not open, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this.
So this is really from my perspective, everyone must meet in the heart, right? It's only the heart that creates that communal space. So whether you're in a male body or a female body, whether you're running a lot of masculine energy or a lot of feminine energy, I'll take me and my husband, right? I run so much masculine energy because of my mental body's need to be very developed to handle the trauma, bridging the gap between, what I can incarnate and who I know myself to be, right? So I have a lot of mental body. I'm masculine. And even though my deep feminine, right, when I sing, it's pure feminine. It's just
Yeah.
pure heart love. So it's really kind of a paradox. But in the relationship, I tend to have to constantly be remembering, go back to your feminine, surrender control, surrender talking, listen a little, constantly pulling myself toward the feminine pole, and which is toward the heart. So everybody needs to go toward the feminine pole.
Yeah.
So that they can commune with their beloved. And this society is made, my husband is very, very feminine. I mean, he's very masculine, but it's the velvety silk of his feminine heart that enables me to still be alive. He is such a healer. He puts his hand, on the war zone in my solar plexus, and love nectar, I breathe oxygen because of his love.
Yeah.
He's so feminine. And half the time he doesn't understand anything I'm saying.
Oh, really?
He's like, no, he doesn't I get my downloads and I have to go by myself to the other room with the tape recorder because he doesn't, it's just static and it's fast and it's coming hard and, he's not,
he doesn't, how does he deal with it? He just listens or?
A lot of the time he just listens with a loving space. He holds loving space because really, love heals everything. Love is the master healer of everything. It's all that we really want at the core.
Oh yeah.
And so, but I think, as you were talking about our society, because it's so survival based with capitalism and the need to make money and the need to plan for the future, all of that puts us in the head. And it takes us away from the heart. And even children, I think children were meant to be raised in community. We weren't meant to have this nuclear family, which is like this island where you have to handle all this stuff by yourself pretty much. And it takes us away from or not handle it. It takes us away. There's a lot of strikes against relationship and love. I mean, that's so many divorces, so many breakups, because how do we hold, how do we hold on? And I've been married to Frank the entire time I've gone through all my activators,
How does that work? I don't understand how that works.
Because it doesn't become physical.
Oh, got it.
Just emotional and energetic, that the blueprint is being handed down by the activator. It's all energetic. It can become physical, but it gets really messy if it becomes physical. Frank and I, let's see, it's become physical. Number 17 and number 19 became physical. And, it was like Frank and I sort of opened into polyamory during that time, right? Okay. Because we thought, well, maybe we're supposed to do this, but we closed back down because we found out that was not our path. And so, 18 through 28 were energetic. And you can get the blueprint just as well if it's energetic. Some of them were people I saw once. Some of them were people I never met in the physical. Number 28, I never met in the physical. It was all etheric.
Yeah, I understand.
And he's famous. So I see his face everywhere. Turn on YouTube, it's like, damn, why couldn't my activator be like someone who's not all over the screen,
Yeah, well, maybe the next one. Hopefully, maybe they
No, there is no next one.
I was going to say.
This one, no. This one is literally the river that delivers me beyond duality into the infinite Christ. This is the last one. I mean, everyone in the first wave of humanity is going into the infinite Christ. And at that level, there's no potential for addiction because you're one with God.
There you go.
But it's taken it's been a long journey to get liberated from duality. This planet was mired in it when I was born in 1965.
250,000 years.
250,000 years of AI takeover, false timekeeper codes to lock us in the loop of external addiction.
I want to talk about that. But before I do talk about that particular thing, I want to circle back to sexuality because it's such a it's been so traumatized and so exploited and so misunderstood, like this life energy. And I just completed a 3-part series on healing the sexual self, mostly out of my own sexual trauma.
Yeah. Oh God, that's a big topic, Adrienne. We could do a whole nother podcast. I don't know. I'll try and cliff note.
Well, yeah, just a cliff note on your take. And
okay, so sexuality is one of the most. Okay, let's go back to the potential of sexual intercourse between man and woman, tantric sexual exchange. So tantric sexual energy has the capacity to open a portal between earth and heaven. It is the most empowered, beautiful, glorious expression of God in form that there is when it's running organically and in concert with Christ consciousness, right? That's a big when, that's a big if. So what happens is the controller forces on this planet, that's the last thing they ever want, is for us to have full contact with the organic matrix. So they have abused, tortured, satanic ritual abuse. I don't want to get into it, but there is so much attacked on that sexuality avenue, that portal, because they don't want that portal open. So as we awaken, as both women and men, but especially as women, the divine solar feminine has been massacred. The amount of abuse to shut down the women's sexual chakras is just unbelievable. Therefore, I've had literally just like dead energy down there forever because I have to go through all the core traumas, and some of them, what they did to us in our sapphire bodies, it's too much to even, you can't even talk about it. But as our sexual organs are coming online, right, they're blossoming. Our sexual energy is really like where the living light blossoming of the flower petals of God come from the sexual organs. And so as we go through all these traumas and we lift the sexual energy back into the heart of God, it's this blossoming field of just exquisite beauty for women, for men. And so it just becomes this, it's just, it's a place where so much trauma targets, but it's a place where the most exquisite, miraculous glory rises out of. So it's the darkest and the lightest.
Well, that's why it's the darkest, right? Because it offers the most light.
Because it offers the most light. Yeah. So it's huge. I mean, we're not like one of my teachers of my galactic community, Lisa Renee. She talks about how Vincent van Gogh, when he painted the irises, he knew he's a Cathar of the ancient Christ lineage, and he knew, and the starry night is the template of Divine Mother that rewrites and reawakens the plasma body flowers. And if you listen to Starry Night,
the song,
it talks about morning fields that brightly blaze. And the flowers, that the fire of the flowers, every word of Don McLean's song, is tuning in to Vincent. Starry night. That's the return of the feminine sexuality, which begins to awaken the masculine sexuality. And it's all in that song. And the iris is the encoded sacred geometric flower that heals all trauma.
Wow.
And he knew it. He painted the iris everywhere.
Wow.
So he says, shout out to our beautiful Van Gogh. And of course, he killed himself. He held codes of such light. He couldn't possibly survive.
Yeah, it was very difficult for him but he was able to use his art to communicate it.
He certainly did. Yeah.
Okay,
so that was just a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll meet again and talk about maybe that more in depth. But so this morning I saw a beautiful quote, and I want to share it with you. It's by Hafiz,
Oh, I love it.
And it says, how did the rose ever open its heart and give to the world all its beauty?
Oh,
It felt the encouragement of light against its being. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened.
that's so beautiful. Yeah, love is the great invoker. Love is the what calls us out of the darkness, for the promise of that love. And that's why, right, romantic love is so powerful, because it is the beacon that's shining when we're trapped in the night. And we see that beacon and we rise.
And that's why, like the Sufi poets like Hafiz always wrote their love songs to God in a romantic form.
Yes. Yeah. Rumi was so in love with his guru.
Yeah.
And it was that same romantic love. It was like he was his son. And when his guru died, that's when he had his total enlightenment.
Wow.
He brought back the DNA of his own life online.
Yeah.
He became Rumi. He became the poet.
He became Rumi Manifest, fully expressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to end with, because we're just about coming to on our time, is that, for me personally, I, was really committed to finding the truth with a capital T, so I read voraciously and I studied world religion and philosophy, and I thought the answer would be there somewhere, because I couldn't know it, how could I know it, and then eventually I realized, through my work and meditation and everything that I was doing, that like I have a direct connection to source, and I can download any information, like it's all available to me.
Yeah, the Akasha, right, is available to all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact is really what the message was, is thou shall not put any authority outside of you before the authority within. So it's like an embodied knowing, which is much different than how.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Adrienne, before, I would love to just sing on camera just the first part of the song that we're going to share, because it just keeps wanting to be shared. Yeah, it just keeps. So if we understand, the higher self is calling the self in time to cross an ocean and face all the trauma and pain, so that it can unite with more of itself. And it does this through that romantic love. So this is a Tina Malia song called Shores of Avalon. Okay, so be brave, my love, the time has come to cross the Tintingale Sea. The essence of the apple blossoms have all been beckoning, and there we'll stand, looking out upon the world that we've known. All fear will be gone as we reach the shores of Avalon. Okay, so you can see that the higher self is saying, be brave, my love. Now that you've seen the activator, you have to cross that ocean to find yourself. Because the essence of the apple blossoms will now beckon you. You cannot stop. You will have to go. And then the next part is feel the wind on your face as we cross the stormy seas. Close your eyes, don't look back, separating from the object. There's nothing left to see. And now this is when lover and beloved inside the self begin to unite using the map. The other night you came to me like an angel, you appeared, and we climbed the endless sky and held each other near. And there we stand. So now the wholeness in the self comes, looking out upon the world that we've known. And all the fear is gone. All fear is gone. And we've reached the shores of love. Do we reach the shore of love? Do we reach the shore of love? Be brave, my love. So that, right, that's the song for that. You know, you have to, once you see the beloved, it's all over. Your ship is now bound for that higher shore. And in order to make that journey, you're going to have to separate from the beloved, fall out of orbit, fall back through the broken heart into the communion, which allows the next level of lover and beloved to join in your consciousness. And so to me, that song says it all. You know, even the higher self is saying, be brave, my love. Yeah. Right? Like even the lover itself, like some of my activators have been my best friends, and I can feel their higher self joining with me. Like it's gonna happen again. Be brave, my love. You know, here comes the broken heart, the weeping. You know, here comes that incredible agony that delivers the rememberment of God consciousness into form.
Got it.
Yeah.
I wonder, you know, I mean, a lot of people have tremendous loss in their life outside of, you know, having a romantic love. Is it your experience that this is serving the same purpose?
Not always. I mean, in normal loss, you don't necessarily get the map that you get through romantic love, but all loss all loss opens a chasm
Yeah.
that light can enter, right? It's across the board, every time when you think about like losing a love or losing a dream or just losing anything,
Heartbroken. Yeah.
the heartbroken, it does crack, it does crack the heart open. And I mean, this is a whole nother topic, but the challenge is to not get lost in the pain body.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, because we really, on this planet, because of satanic architecture, there's a lot of magnification of suffering that's unnecessary. It's really unnecessary. I've been, that's been one of my main challenges, is coming in with such a huge emotional body into a realm where there's the pain body, there's so much suffering, and learning how to not deny the pain, but also move quickly into the joy, right? Because joy is who we really are. We're not meant to get mired in suffering. Yeah. We're meant to let it move through us when the pain comes up, like this latest letting go of this activator. It would come in waves.
Yeah.
And then I'd be happy and fine and go to my nanny job and sing and play and watch the flowers, and then a wave, and but there have been times in the past when my pain body got a hold of it, and I stayed in just total despair for 3 months and had to take antidepressants, right? Because I couldn't let go.
Yeah.
And I kept milking it. Pain body's like a cow. If you squeeze the teats, you'll get more.
It just keeps coming.
It'll keep coming if you keep squeezing it. So you have to go, okay, wait, I felt it. I don't need to go cycle through it
anymore.
And that's a challenge on this planet.
Well, right? A lot that keeps people stuck, right? And out of their truth.
It really does. Yep.
All right, my love. It has been so great connecting with you. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your music.
Oh, thank you, Adrienne. My voice was a little froggy, but oh well.
It was perfect. It was perfect. So we'll have to do this again sometime soon.
I would love to. Yeah.
So thank you so much for reaching out and connecting with me and taking your time. I really appreciate it.
You bet. And anyone who feels drawn to work with me, if you're going through some of the wilder layers of your multidimensional embodiment, or if you're just going through a lot of anxiety, right? I am here. It is my joy to guide people through the night.
Yes.
It's my joy to accompany them, because that is what we have to do to make it through this, is accompany ourselves with love and understanding, right? The understanding does help, but it's the love that really makes the difference.
Yes, and I will include your contact information in the description of this podcast for anyone
Thank you, sweetie.
Yeah, that anyone's listening and feels, a resonance with you and what you're sharing, they can reach out and connect with you.
Many blessings.
Many blessings to you. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.